Sports Drill. I am Mike V, of course, and I am here to talk about the NBA. The trade deadline is passed. We are also past the point of the big buyout options. Andre Drummond to the Lakers, the Brooklyn Nets. I almost called them New Jersey, harkening back to the days of my youth there. Picking up Lamarcus Aldridge, already with Blake Griffin in tow. It appears very much so that we are heading for a Lakers versus Nets finals clash. LeBron versus KD. There are some nice moves made by other teams. I think Denver is a better team for the moves that they made. I think that the Clippers getting Rajon Rondo, they absolutely need a player like that desperately. There is a possibility that if the Lakers don't come into things healthy, the Clippers might be able to give them some problems. But the Nets look like a runaway favorite in the East. And the Lakers, I'm assuming that they will be healthy. And if they are, LeBron and AD, just an amazing combination together, no doubt. So who wins is the question. I understand what the Nets look like on paper. At this point, I honestly would favor the Lakers. I think that LeBron and AD showed what they're capable of doing against James Harden last year in the playoffs. AD and LeBron, we cannot sleep on the fact they had no problem, regardless of position, just taking on the opposing team's two best players. They were willing to do that. They showed they could do that. Size did not matter if it was smaller guys. Speed did not matter. I mean, they did what they had to do. Two incredible athletes, freakish, long, both of them. And I am leaning towards the Lakers more so than the Nets. I do think that the Nets have a better supporting cast, but I just have an overall feeling that this Nets thing is not going to work out. And even when I say supporting cast, I more so mean that they have a legit third star that the Lakers do not have. And I would, at this point, you would probably consider that Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving and Dennis Schroeder is not a fair one for one. So the Nets have the advantage there. And Joe Harris is a nice player and things like that. But I would also say, without question, we got to take our foot off the gas when it comes to Lamarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin. I at this point these guys are not what they used to be, and I don't know how they match up. Andre Drummond is a good pickup for them because he can deal with the Aldridges and he can deal with Blake Griffin to a degree. Obviously, if those guys get out on the perimeter a little bit, that puts Drummond out of his comfort zone a bit. But they're not in any position to where they can contribute mightily from the perimeter either at this stage in their careers. I like Drummond. The one thing the Lakers could do last year that people sleep on because we've moved into this more free flowing NBA and a lot of three pointers is they went to old school bully ball. Dwight Howard and LeBron and AD, and I mean, just a very big team. No question. JaVale McGee, obviously, a big part of that as well. Kind of an underrated piece on last year's team, but there's just a lot of size and power. And you're going to kind of see that going against a more finessing Nets team. And I understand the analytics, but the Lakers kind of just, defied all that to win last year. There's no question about that. I mean, they were not a very good 3-point shooting team last year, still managed to pull it off. And I think that's what you're seeing. I think there's a good chance that you'll see that right now in this year. And I will say, I do expect a tremendous, tremendous NBA Finals between these two. I mean, you have stars galore. You have LeBron and KD. I mean, this is going to be fantastic basketball, and I expect a good playoffs as well. Like I said, I do think Denver got better. I think the things that they added, JaVale McGee and Aaron Gordon, that should make their defense better, which they need because if you're rolling Jokic, Murray, and Michael Porter Jr. out there, the other two players on the floor have to be defensive players. And, Gary Harris, is pretty good defensively on the perimeter. They're definitely a better team for the acquisitions that they made. Same with the Clippers and Rondo. I think it should be fun. I think the 76ers should be fun to watch as well. This Doc Rivers era basketball with, kind of old school, just, feed the big guy Embiid and get the hell out of the way. And with what they can do as well. I mean, and defensively especially, Embiid guarding the rim, and someone like Ben Simmons who's versatile as all hell. He's KD's gonna get his, but KD, if Ben Simmons is guarding him or has, if they go with that matchup, he could definitely make KD work, a lot harder than he's used to. So the playoffs overall should be fun, but I mean, my big takeaway here is that the Lakers and the Nets should be headed towards the finals. And you hear it here first. It looks like the dust is settled, barring any injuries that'll kind of cause some craziness. But I am officially rolling with the Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, to, if they are healthy, to win this year's NBA championship. I am Mike V here for your sports drill, and I will see you next time on the Hello Sports World Podcast Network.